Yo, what's up guys, Slow Mo here, and I'm going to do this tier list that it seems like everyone has done, but not everyone has done correctly. Yes, I said correctly, because they haven't done the backslap approved Rogue Company tier list. And yes, that is the tier list that is the most definitive, that actually talks about all the current characters to date, and is the correct tier list. And I know some of you may disagree with some of my choices here, and that's fine. You can disagree with it. You'd still be wrong, but you can disagree with it just as strongly as you like. I don't care. But let's go ahead and get into it, and let me explain to you guys how I'm going to do it. I'm going to talk about a rogue. I'm going to go over their loadout, the strengths and weaknesses to it, what they have that's good, what they have that's bad. And then I'm going to talk about how the rogue is used in the game and where they're used best and where they really fall short. Then I'm going to put them in the tier. And I kind of agree with the pre-approved tiers right here. They got S+, S, A, B, and C. I don't really think there are any D or F actual rogues in this game. This game is very, very balanced. It's not like some other arena shooter games where you may have some characters that are really quite useless. This game has every single rogue pretty much has a general use, whether it's for offense or defense. And some of them are better at offense and defense, and some of them are just great all around at everything. But there aren't any actual bad rogues, and the ones that are fairly limited, I'm pretty much going to put in the C tier, but we'll get all into that in a minute. Hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't already. I'm going to do Rogue Company content on a weekly basis at least. So check me out if you like the content. Subscribe if you like it. If you don't, it's all good. And let's go ahead and get into it. Alright, so first up is Anvil. And Anvil has the barricade ability, which if you use that, essentially you're deploying a barricade that blocks damage and movement. You can activate it again, which would essentially be you hitting the both bumper buttons, or however you do it on your mouse and keyboard, that allows you to break the glass and be able to shoot through it through cover. That's very, very underrated. Not too many people know that you can do that, but his barricade ability is really great for defense. Awesome for defense. Not so useful when you're on the attack, and that's depending on if you're doing demolition or extraction. He has immunity to EMP, disorient, slow, and blind effects, which is very, very useful, but not that OP, not that great. His shotgun, the Arbitrator, is rarely used because everyone uses his MLX Maw, which is super OP. Actually had to be nerfed a little bit because it was like a laser. His executioner pistol is just okay. The baseball bat is fine. His grenade levels are C4 and active protection system are a little on the weaker side. They're not the ones that I would prefer to use. And in regards to his perks, he's got shredder rounds, which is great against other equipment like his shield. He's got Berserker, which is great for reloading. I really love the Berserker ability because there are many times where I'll start reload, but then the animation isn't complete before I'm trying to sprint, and then the reload doesn't actually happen. So having Berserker as a perk for any of these rogues, if it's available as a perk, I always get that. He has Helping Hand and revive enemies faster, Tenacity that reduces explosives, Headstrong for additional armor, and Life Drain for getting more heals when he downs an enemy. Now that is an underrated perk as well, because it's great, especially if you down a bunch of enemies in a row, or you start downing a couple of enemies as you get into really ramping up into getting a kill streak. That additional health that you get back stacks if you down multiple enemies. It can really help you clean up that last 2 or 3 guys. Yeah. Now Anvil, where would I put Anvil? Anvil is a C. And here's why he's a C. It's not a bad rogue, but he's very limited. On offense, he's not the most versatile. All of his skill sets are based around defending a position. Now, I'm not saying you can't have some times where on offense you do a really good job of like killing a couple of people, pushing the point to take a point from the other team, but typically he's not the guy for that. There are other rogues that are much, much better at that. He's great at defending a point. You could even have, let's say if you're in demolition and you want one person to defend one point that they might go to while everyone else goes to the other point, he could definitely be that rogue for you. Set up shop, set up his barricade, break out the glass, find a great position for it, mope anyone down that comes through. If the majority of the team comes through, he can handle it to the rest of your team gets back or kills them. But outside of that, it's not all that useful. And so Anvil, definitely a C. Next up is Chalk, and Chalk is a very popular rogue for players to use, and for obvious reasons. His stim pack ability allows you to either overheal yourself for a duration, small duration, that gives you a little bit more armor and pack a little bit more punch, but also a revive for yourself when you're down, which is what it's usually used for. It's really good, especially for unsuspecting rogues or inexperienced rogues who aren't familiar with how Chalk works. Grit is his passive, which is while down, he gains increased health and the ability to dodge roll. So most people, when they get down, they have a little bit less health than he has. Also, they're not able to dodge roll out of the way of enemy fire. They may try to finish them off. So his weapons are the SKL-6 shotgun, which is really good actually. It's a pump action shotgun. It does a lot of damage, but it's nowhere near as popular or useful as his D40C SMG. The fire rate on that thing is ridiculous. It's crazy. His Spitfire pistol, which is the best pistol in the game, automatic, does a lot of damage, high DPS. The katana is always good to use if you're into doing that. Flashbang, the flashbang in this game is OP. So is the Semtex grenade. He's got the best loadout for grenades and his perks. Shredder rounds is really good against guys like Anvil who set up a barricade or trench in his barbed wire. He's got Cloak that keeps him from being revealed by scans. Stalker, which removes aim down sights, movement speed. Helping Hand, which provides teammates faster. But the last two here, Replenish and Life Drain, are the best perks in the game. So Replenish automatically reloads your weapon that you're using if you down an enemy. When you get into situations where you're outnumbered, you down a guy, half the time the reason why you may die is because you're trying to switch weapons to get more DPS on the next guy, or you're trying to reload. The fact that you don't have to reload with Replenish is excellent. And Life Drain gives you additional health. So just imagine if you have both of those, if you get both of those perks. With the way Chalk has DPS with the SMG, it's ridiculous. So where am I going to put Chalk? Chalk is definitely S tier. And why only S tier and not S plus? It's because he's limited in range. You have to get very close with him to do the most damage with him. He's best. He's one of the best in short range situations. But getting to that short range, if you're going up against say a Phantom or a Dallas who's using the DMR or a Saint, can be problematic. Also, when you're dealing with experienced rogues, they know not to let a Chalk bleed out because you don't know if he has his super ready to pick himself back up. So experienced rogues know to make sure he stays down, throw a grenade over there to finish him off, push the point and make sure to kill him. So it's not as useful against experienced rogue players as it is against inexperienced ones. And despite him being very strong and very useful in both offense and defense, those are some limitations that you have with him. So definitely a great rogue to use, definitely a rogue that people can use as their main and do a ton of work. You will see a lot of Chalks at the top of leaderboards with a ton of downs, a ton of eliminations, but there are other rogues that do better. And so that's why Chalk gets an S for me. So next we have Dallas, and Dallas is a little bit of a different rogue. He's more of a scout. He helps players know where to find enemies, where the other enemies are currently located, so you can track him down, take him out. His ability is Target Finder, which he snaps his fingers and he reveals the closest enemy location for a short period of time. His passive is a recharge, which if he downs an enemy and his Target Finder ability is on cooldown, then he gets it immediately refreshed, which allows him to go forward and continue to give his team more enemy positions so that he could go kill more people. Now his loadout is an HRM 30KS assault rifle. I think that's probably his best primary weapon, although I have seen people using the Devotion DMR. It's pretty strong as well. I still think the assault rifle is a bit better. His revolver though is the best secondary weapon that isn't an automatic. It isn't the Spitfire. This one's, it's pretty devastating. He has a throwing axe. His grenades are actually very good. He has an EMP grenade and a fire grenade. Now his EMP grenade is very underrated, and of course the fire grenade will burn enemies and continue to damage them for a few moments afterwards. For his perks, he's got padded steps, which silence his footsteps when he's not sprinting. He's got Berserker, which is awesome. Stalker, which removes aim down sights, movement speed, penalty. That's alright. He's got Bounce Back to reduce his health regeneration, which is great. Headstrong, which gives him a little bit more armor, and the Great Replenish perk, which automatically reloads his weapon when he downs an enemy and restores ammunition. So Dallas is a really good rogue. He's really good at, as I said, finding where the enemies are and allowing your team to be able to close ranks on those enemies. He's not the best at DPS. He's not the best at evading damage or sustained enemy fire in combat, but he fits a good role. And if you're looking for someone on your team that can be that kind of role, you don't need a DPS, you don't need a tank, you don't need defense, you need someone to let you know where the enemies are. There's him and Talon, and I think he's better at that than Talon is. So where do I place Dallas? Dallas is going to be an A. He is an A-class rogue. Very good, not the best, but definitely if your main is taken, you can't do wrong with going with Dallas. Next up is Dima. Dima, the ever popular Dima. Dima's ability is a Merv launcher. He launches a grenade launcher. It hits a cluster of 3 different grenades in an area that really can be devastating for enemies that are caught in its path. It's an immediate down for any of those enemies. It can be pretty dominating if you know how to use it properly. And his passive is burned. Enemies you down are revealed to your team for a short duration. Now his loadout starts with a KA-30 assault rifle, which is his better weapon. The Mamba is a DMR. It is okay. It's a burst fire assault rifle, but the KA-30 is better. He's got an executioner pistol, which is all right. Thorn axe, EMP grenade, and the short fuse grenade. The EMP grenade I would prefer over the short fuse one. I hate the short fuse grenade. Short fuse grenade, you throw it. It is always readily available where it is. People avoid it, and only every now and then can you catch someone unaware and let them get hit by it. In regards with perks, he's got Shredder rounds to deal more damage against equipment. Berserker, which gives him the ability to reload while sprinting, which is underrated. He's got Nimble Hands to increase weapon swap and reload speed. Bounce Back to reduce health regeneration delay, which is pretty good. And the 2 best perks, Replenish and Life Drain. So those last 2 make him really, really strong. He downs enemies, he gets health back. He downs enemies, he also gets to reload his weapon without actually having to waste time doing so, which again is great in firefights where there are multiple enemies that you're fighting. You down one, you got health back, and you got ammo to shoot down the other. Now Dima overall, Dima's a real strong rogue, and what he does is he is great at flanking enemies, catching them unawares, hitting mass groups of enemies with his grenade launcher, and his assault rifle is really underrated in sustained DPS. He's a good rogue. He's not the best though. Actually, he's a very good rogue, and that's why I'm gonna put Dima as an S tier. You can really dominate with Dima, get a lot of kills, do a lot of damage, and that he's not the best at that. He's great at offense and defense, but he is still really, really strong. Now this next one might actually surprise some of you, and that is Glitch. So Glitch, I might have a little bit of a different opinion than most people on this one, but let's go ahead and get into him. So Glitch has a pretty awesome ability called Hack. It allows him to activate a device that can detect nearby enemy signals and infiltrate their system. So essentially he can shut down anyone's ability to use their special ability to use grenades. And if you're someone like Anvil or Trench, you've deployed, or Ronin, and you've deployed your special ability, it will immediately destroy it. It's a pretty cool ability. It's essentially called breaching within the game of Rogue Company, and it allows you to, if you're trying to breach the defenses of another team who are already set up and dug in, it can give your team an advantage. It's very, very useful. His passive is Intuition, where he can detect nearby enemy equipment even through walls. Now his loadout, his primary weapons, he's got an SKL 6 shotgun. Literally no one uses that. Most people use his LMPX SMG. SMG, he has an executioner pistol, it's okay. Baseball bat as the melee, the overpowered flashbang and Semtex grenades. He's got a great grenade loadout set, and for his perks, he's got padded steps to silence his footsteps. He's got cloaked to keep him invisible. He's got bounce back, which reduces his health regeneration. He's got nimble hands to increase weapon swap speed and reload speed. Sixth sense to get notified when an enemy within 25 meters is looking in his direction, and tracker rounds, which damage an enemy with a firearm will reveal them to your whole team. So his perks really aren't that great, and that's part of the reason why I'm going to say what I'm saying about Glitch. Glitch's SMG makes him a good DPS player. His grenades are awesome. His breaching ability with the hack is very good on offense and defense, because even on defense you can be able to disable abilities that the opposing team is trying to use to infiltrate your position. But the perks suck. And although he has a very useful role, outside of that, there are other rogues that you can use to do more DPS. There are other rogues that are better at flanking, better at holding a position, better at defense, just better at everything else. And so for that reason, Glitch is a B. He is a B tier rogue in Rogue Company. He's better than Anvil, but not as good or as useful as the other rogues we have here that are higher than him. So far, Dallas, Chalk, Dima, a good number of them will also be higher, but B's not bad, of course. It's a good role, but Glitch isn't someone that I would say would be my main. He'd be my secondary if I feel like his ability to hack complements the team well enough to go give him a shot. Next up is Lancer, and Lancer's ability is Quick and Quiet, which allows her to gain increased movement speed, quieter movement, and immunity to reveals for a duration or until firing her weapon. And it's a pretty good ability. It's excellent at when you first start a match, trying to get to the point and strike out before the other enemy. It's excellent in demolition if you have the bomb and you're trying to get to the point to deploy the bomb before the enemy. It's really good. It's great at flanking. Just a very useful ability. Her passive is completely OP. Her passive is amazing. Her passive is the reason why I'm going to give her the grade that you'll see in a moment. The elusive ability is her passive. With it, activating dodge roll reloads your currently equipped weapon. It's perfect for situations where you are outnumbered by the full team or just 2 or 3 other enemies. You can mow down one person, dodge roll. You have automatically reloaded your weapon to mow down the next enemy. Dodge roll. Do it again. I have done this so many times where I've completely capped the entire team, where I have taken out at least 3 people before I get shot down. It's great. It's amazing. Now, as far as her loadout goes, her SMG is the HRM24S. It is one of the better SMGs in the game. It's very good. She also has the Striker 8x10 shotgun, which is also very good as well. It's an automatic shotgun, so you don't even have to keep hitting the button to fire. Pretty damn good. She's got Spitfire, which is the best secondary in the game, a throwing axe. The smoke grenade is blah, but she has the Semtex grenade, which is the best grenade in the game. Sticks to surfaces, sticks to people. It explodes quickly so that people can't get out of the way in time. And as far as perks go, she's got padded steps to silence her footsteps when she's not sprinting. She's got shredded rounds to destroy equipment with more damage and carry more ammunition. This is great against Trench and Anvil. She's got Stalker to remove aim down sights penalty, revive teammates faster with the help of hands ability. She's got tracker rounds, which is okay, but that life drain. With everything that she has already, you have to get life drain first, because with that dodge roll, that passive perk to allow her to dodge roll, the elusive perk, with that, you combine that with life drain, she's dodge rolling, reloading after killing enemies, and she's getting health back. It just makes her completely OP. Now, with all that said, I'm pretty sure you guys know where I'm going with this. Because of the combination of her elusive passive talent, the life drain perk, her excellent SMG, her speed, Lancer is our very first S+. She's just amazing. She's a can't go wrong rogue. She's great on defense to flank the enemy and to get them off your point. She's great on offense to do the same thing. She's great in demolition, she's great in strikeout, she's just really great in all aspects of how you play this game. The only thing I can say that could be somewhat of a drawback is that as far as DPS goes, her damage range isn't the best. She carries a SMG and a shotgun, but she moves so fast and she can flank so well, it doesn't matter. She can flank a Phantom, she can flank a DMR Dallas or a DMR Saint and knock them out of the game before they even know what's going on. Lancer, S+. So let's talk about Phantom. And Phantom is actually the rogue I have the most time, the most kills, and the most wins in. And that's because probably for my first 10 to 15 hours playing this game, all I played was Phantom. She's actually pretty fun. If you're into long range combat, if you're into essentially picking a spot, camping, and unloading on anyone who comes your way. She's not the kind of rogue that you're gonna go flanking with. She's not the kind of rogue that you're going to be taking on a lot of enemies all at once. You can if you're really good with her, but most people aren't, so it's very situational. Now, Phantom's special ability is nano smoke. She throws a smoke grenade and reveals enemies in the area. It's one of the weaker abilities in the game because it doesn't really do much. The best you can use with that is to slow enemies from using a certain path towards the objective, keep enemies from attacking her or flanking her when she's camped out in a certain position. That's the best really you can do with it. It's supposed to reveal enemies that go through the smoke, but when enemies go through the smoke, half the time I don't see them or you don't see them, and for the most part people just avoid it because they can't see anything when they're in it. So no one goes into the smoke, therefore you don't really get to see enemies revealed in that area. Her passive is Grievous Wounds, which means that if she damages an enemy, their health regeneration is delayed, which can be good for a team, which means that say if someone kills you and you did some damage to them, maybe a teammate can get to them and finish them off before their health regenerates. But as far as in the moment, that doesn't do much for you. Now her loadout, Phantom's loadout is by far the best for ranged combat. She's got the LR-15 full body, which is a really devastating sniper rifle. If you hit someone with a headshot, they're dead, they're down, period. If you hit a body shot, it's 80% of the health. So you can really finish them off with the next round that you can get off on them, or a teammate can finish them off. And her Arin L212 DMR is what I use primarily, the best DMR in the game. Now her pistol is the P12K, which is pretty good for a non-automatic pistol. Throwing axe, the short fuse grenade, I can't stand those, and the sticky sensor. She's probably got the worst kit for the grenade stuff. And her perks though, so her perk, she's got evade, which after being damaged increases movement speed for a short duration. She's got cloaked, which keeps her immune. Nimble hands, which for her and if you're using the sniper rifle, that's really good because it speeds up her reload speed. Definitely stalker is probably the remove aim down sights penalty. Removing that penalty is probably essential for her. The amazing life drain, which is really great, and then tracker rounds. So she's got a decent number of perks. You definitely want to go with the life drain, of course, but Phantom is an acquired taste kind of rogue. If you like range combat, if you're not really trying to get in the mess, you don't want anyone to come up close to you short range, and you're really good at sniping, you can do a lot of damage with Phantom. You can basically change the landscape of the game, of matches with her if you're really good with her. Because the other team's going to have to account for not being able to go in certain areas of the map because they can get sniped very easily. If you're good at hitting headshots, if you're good at accurately hitting the enemy, you can devastate teams. But her lack of mobility, her mediocre perks, her mediocre grenade is a detriment, and there's only so much that you can do with her. So because of that, I'm going to give her a grade of A. She's an A tier because unlike Glitch, she can dominate a match if you know how to use her correctly. But there's so many drawbacks to everything else on offense and demolition. She's not all that useful. She's better at defending zones than taking them. And so her playstyle isn't the best for most players, but she still gets that grade over Glitch because, again, you can straight own another team if used correctly, and that team does not figure out how to counter you, your position, and where you're knocking them down from. So yeah, Phantom's an A tier rogue. So here we go, Ronin. Ronin is pretty damn awesome. Ronin has the ballistic knife ability, which she essentially can throw a explosive knife. That knife can stick to surfaces, and if enemies walk past that knife, it will detonate on them, dropping them immediately. It also can be thrown directly at enemies, and if you hit an enemy and he's grouped around other enemies, everybody's dropping. It's amazing. It's great for offense, going after a point to take. Is great on defense, defending a point by putting it in places that you know enemies tend to go up against a wall to kind of protect themselves, or come around a corner and may be a little unaware of where that knife might be. It's one of the better abilities in the entire game. Her loadout is really one of the better loadouts in the game. She's got the K830 assault rifle, which is very strong, higher fire rate, a little bit more range than SMGs. So when you're going up against other rogues that use SMGs, if you're a little bit further away, you're going to be able to shoot them down before they shoot you down, as long as you're shooting accurately. Her SMG, the SLC, I think could use a little bit better handling, but it's very strong. She's got the best pistol in the game, the Spitfire. Katana for the melee. Her grenades could be better. She's got a smoke grenade and the short fuse grenade. I don't really care for either of those, but considering everything else about her is so amazing, so what? She's got the Berserker perk, which gives her the ability to reload while sprinting. That's really good. She's got the Evade perk that gives her increased movement speed when damaged, tenacity, taking reduced damage from explosives. I don't really bother with that one. The Nimble Hands for reload speed, but Replenish is excellent. Downing enemy reloads your current weapon, restores ammunition. Basically, considering her primary weapons are so strong, she could really clean up on a lot of enemies if she gets overwhelmed very, very quickly. And then Sixth Sense, which just notifies you whenever an enemy is looking at you. So not the best perks, but really, really, really good perks, especially perks that complement her skill set. So Ronin, where does Ronin sit? Ronin is an S+, right along with Lancer, and here's why. She's great for offense and defense. You can dominate a match with Ronin. You can bring a team back with Ronin. You can throw a knife, walk away, go do other stuff, and then realize you just got it down because someone ran to your knife. You could throw a well-placed knife, can drop an entire team if they're unaware and they're grouped too close together. She's just an awesome rogue all the way around. She's got great movement speed, great primary weapons, the best secondary weapon in the game. That can't be understated how good that is, having a great secondary weapon, because it's better to use that than to reload if you don't have the Replenish perk. She has the Replenish perk and she has the best secondary. She's just one of the best rogues in the game, period. So this might actually surprise people about Saint, but it will only surprise them because they haven't used him. And I think a lot of people don't use Saint because he's a healer. They know he's a healer and they don't want to heal people, they just want to shoot. But you can shoot people with Saint too. Don't know if you knew that, right? Anyway, Saint's ability is the revive drone, which he can send out no matter where you are in the map. If you're down, he can send that drone out to pick you up. It's pretty cool. It's not that fast though, and if the enemy who just downs you is over top of you, the drone's not going to pick you up in time. Oftentimes, when you send it out, the other person's already dead, but the fact that you do get that back and you don't lose the ability, it doesn't go on cooldown because the person was killed. It only goes on cooldown if it actually picks someone up, which is very nice. It's a very, very useful tool to use, and if you have a good Saint, it could definitely save lives in Strikeout. Definitely save an entire round in Demolition. It's pretty good. His passive is medical expertise, where reviving a teammate heals himself and heals that teammate for more than just a regular pickup. So usually when you pick someone up, it goes 30 health points for that person that you pick up. When Saint picks you up, it's 80, and he gets additional health back himself. Now for his loadout, he has an assault rifle, which is the MLX Mark IV. It's amazing. It's the best, actually the best assault rifle in the game. No lie, no cap. Best assault rifle in the game. It's a freaking laser, and you can drop a good number of enemies if they are coming at you with that weapon. His other primary is the Mamba DMR. It's okay, but just not as good as the MLX Mark. His executioner pistol, which is alright. A throwing axe. His grenade kit is not great. Smoke grenades, okay. Trip mine. The trip mine sucks. Just keep it real, it sucks. But his perks are alright. He's got the Evade perk. He's got the Cloaked perk. The best parts of his perks are how they accentuate his best features. Helping Hand, revive teammates faster. works not just for him reviving you by hand, but also his drone. So if you get that, his drone will revive you faster. And additionally, bounce back, which reduces his own health regeneration delay as well. So while he may be shooting enemies and someone else may come up at him, he can get his health regenerated much quicker, which this is really key, and I'll get into that in a moment. Headstrong, which gives him 25 additional armor, and track around. So overall, Sept is one of the better, much better rogues in this game. He's very underrated. Getting the Helping Hands perk and the perk to get your health regeneration delay shortened are the two perks that you should go for the most, because it helps the team the most, especially the Helping Hands perk. He's an underrated killer. Seriously, like, people think he's just there to heal until you use him and you realize I can kill a lot of people and heal at the same time. It's damn good, and for that reason, Sept is an S+, because he can dominate a game by killing, downing, and eliminating the other team, and continue to keep picking his own team back up at the same time. No one else can do that. That makes him exceptional, and that makes him S+. You can't go wrong by having a Sept on your team. Just make sure that Sept's actually picking people up, because there's so many times that people are choosing Sept and they're not doing their job correctly. This one's going to be a bit controversial just because everyone hates the character, but it is what it is. You're going to have to accept this grade, because I can't lie, Scorch is pretty dominant. Now, Scorch's ability, Overheat, it had to be nerfed from 15 seconds to 10 seconds of the duration, because it's ridiculous. She can light her ammo on fire, and the damage that she does with a shotgun or SMG, added the fire to it, and that damage over time effect with the fire is OP. It pisses people off. She can mow down a number of enemies, and I think what it really pisses people off about it is that they see a lot of really bad players using Scorch and then killing them when they can barely move, turn left and right and move at the same time, yet just because they did the Overheat ability, which tends to go off cooldown pretty quickly, they went out on one-on-ones. It is what it is. Her passive is Fireproof, which is self-explanatory. It makes her immune to fire, so she could burn you with flames. She can, outside of taking the initial damage from a grenade, any fire grenades, she can just basically take a nap in the flames. She's fine. In regards to her loadout, her two primaries are definitely strong. SLC SMG is one of the better SMGs in the game, and combine that with her Overheat, it's just OP. The Arbitrator shotgun is very strong too. It's a 2-shot hitter. If she's got her flames on, just say bye-bye. She's got an A3 salvo secondary, which is a burst fire pistol. It's really good too. Her melee is a little bit different than everyone else's. She has Rosie, which is her robot arm, and with melee you can essentially light down fire and be able to do more damage when you melee people. She also has like a running start kind of thing that she does with it as well. I don't really use it like that, but her grenades are good. She's got the fire grenade, she's got EMP grenade, which if you get hit with an EMP grenade, you lose your ability to use your abilities and gadgets for a short duration. In regards to perks, she's got Berserker for the reload while sprinting, Evade, Tenacity, Nimble Hands for reload speed, Headstrong for armor, and of course Replenish, which allows her to reload her weapon by downing people and restores her ammo. That Replenish plus her Overheat plus the SMG makes her completely OP. Lowering the duration from 15 to 10 seconds means very little here. She's extremely dominant. You have to be a really bad player to not do well with Scorch. And so with all that said, that's why Scorch is an S+. She's an S+ because she's really easy to dominate with, and that's partially why she's probably the most hated rogue in this game. I can really see them doing more reworking of her to get her more balanced and in line with the other rogues. But until then, S+ is where she is, because S+ is where she deserves to be. So this next one's an interesting one, and the next one is for Talon. Talon, his ability is Radar Dart, and it's really underrated, but also not as good as Dallas's ability to scout. But essentially with the Radar Dart, he throws it up against a surface and then it can detect nearby enemies like a radar effect. Over time, it's really good because it stays there throughout the entire round, and over time, if you throw up enough darts later in the round, you can really get a sense of all player movements in that area. So although in the beginning rounds, it's not as effective as what Dallas would do. It can be super useful later on. His passive is Mag Gloves, where he can actually like magnetically pull items to himself, which are like grenades, other guns, melee weapons, whatever. It could be pretty useful when you're in cover and you're out of ammo and you need a new gun. You can pull a gun that might, actually get you killed if you try to grab it yourself to the area to you. So very, very useful. Going into his loadout, he has a very strong SMG with the LMPX. Really, all the SMGs in the game are strong. Any degree of, well, this one SMG is better than the other is very slight. The LMPX is not the best, but it is better than most weapons, period, because it is an SMG in this game. His other primary is a DMR, the D3DI. No one uses that. His pistol is the P12K, which is just alright. He has a katana for the melee, C4, and a flashbang. That flashbang is ridiculous. It's really OP. Shredder rounds for the perks. Padded steps to silence his footsteps, tenacity to reduce explosive damage, nimble hands for reload speed, sixth sense to notify him where enemies are, and life drain, which is the best one there of those perks. So you combine that life drain with that SMG, and like many of the other rogues that have those two combinations, you can do a lot of damage, get a lot of kills, and strike out, really help your team in demolition. Now, as far as where I'm going to put Talon on this list, I gotta put Talon at an A. He is only really useful in certain situations. You can dominate with him, absolutely. He can be very useful for the full team. Those darts can be extremely helpful in locating enemies later in the match, but when it comes to downing enemies, there are other rogues that are better at that. Shock, Dima, Lancer, Ronin, Saint, Scorch, literally everyone that's at a higher tier than him are better at killing. And although his ability to show the location of other rogues is useful, it doesn't make him more useful than those other rogues I mentioned. This also isn't a slight against anyone who uses Talon primarily. You can really mop up on enemies with him, but when it comes down to it, I would use my main as someone else, and if that main was taken, then I would consider using Talon. But yeah, Talon, A tier. And next we have Trench. Trench is more of a defender along the same lines as Anvil. Trench's ability is the barbed wire grenade, where he throws out a grenade and it explodes into barbed wire all over the ground in a certain area. It is really good when you already have a control point and you're able to shut down a certain entrance to that control point by throwing the barbed wire out. It pretty much eliminates the enemy trying to run in and rush you, just allows them to really get team DPS down if they attempt that. But outside of that, it's really situational. It does not work for all maps. It's really one of the weaker abilities. His passive is Gadget Up, which allows him to carry an additional gadget with him. And as far as his loadout goes, he's got the HRM 30KS assault rifle, and he also has the MXR DMR. I've seen people use the DMR more than the assault rifle. It seems to be pretty strong. He has the executioner pistol, a baseball bat, tear gas, grenade, and active protection system. Like, really, his grenade kit's really bad. As far as perks go, he's got Berserker, Shredder rounds, Tenacity for reduced explosion, bounce back, which reduces health regeneration, headstrong for armor, and tracker rounds. So his perks are really based around defending, and overall Trench might be the worst rogue in the game. Now, he's not a terrible rogue, but definitely not one that people gravitate to the most. I really don't have any much more to say about it. Trench is definitely a C. He's right there with Anvil because he's so situational and he's only super effective on defense. He doesn't have the highest DPS, he doesn't have the best weapons, he doesn't have the best grenade. He's just really not anywhere near as good as the other rogues, period. So yeah, Trench, C tier. And finally, last rogue on the list is V. V has the Vow Poison ability, which creates a cluster of poison pools that reduce enemies' maximum health. And when that does that, it means that even when you get your health regeneration back, it doesn't go all the way back to a full 100. It's very useful in blocking enemies from going down certain paths. Definitely useful in protecting a control point, and Her passive is Leeching Poison, which reduces the maximum health of enemies gradually and increases the maximum health of herself up to 25 health points. Her primary weapons is Nightshade, Assault Rifle, and the S12 Tactical Shotgun. I personally prefer using the Nightshade with V. She has an Executioner Pistol, the Katana, Tear Gas Grenade, and Fire Grenade, which makes sense for her. Her perks are Evade, Cloaked, Tenacity, Helping Hand, which provides teammates faster, Sixth Sense, and Replenish, which is pretty awesome. So V is a decent rogue. She's really good at defending. She's good at adding additional DPS. She's not the best DPS, but she's really good at supporting a bigger DPS damage dealer. She's also not just a defender. She can be useful on offense as well. She's got good grenades. She's got Fire Grenade. Her Assault Rifle is very good. And she's got that Replenish perk, which helps her in firefights. So V is going to be a B. Right along the lines with Glitch. And so this is my tier list. This is the definitive Backslap approved Rogue Company tier list. If you disagree with it, read it right here. Right here it says you can disagree with it, but you be wrong. So I will recap. Our C tier is Anvil and Trench. They are C tier because they are very situational and they do not provide good options for every situation. Our B tier is Glitch and V. Our A tier is Dallas, Phantom, and Talon. Our S tier is Chalk and Dima. And our S plus tier, the very best rogues in the game, Lancer, Ronin, Saint, and Scorch. But you guys let me know what you guys think about this tier list. Let me know what you think. I'm not gonna say I don't care, but I'm not gonna change my tier list because you guys feel differently. But I do want to evoke some kind of conversation here. So definitely get it down into the comment section. Let me know how you guys feel. Let me know which positions you would put the rogues in. And hit the like and subscribe button. I really appreciate that if you would. If you haven't already, that is. And I'll check you guys out later. Peace.